What what we see came back after about 93 days of the conflict. Imagine an Air Force chief who did not like to share the data. That too, in a 58 minutes of speech on 9th of August, he spoke about shooting down Pakistani aircraft on 28th minute. That shows the political element, and they were pressurized probably that they obviously had to say something to nullify the fact that Pakistan Air Force particularly and Pakistani armed forces in generally and fully backed by Pakistani people, the fact that had been created that. So coming back, fast forward to the present set circumstances, now they are left with little option but to start to create a false sense of delusion. And delusion, obviously, if you ask psychologists, you would be knowing a delusion is a state of mind in which person tends to believe what he or she wants to believe. And this is the status of the Indian Armed Forces. They're trying to tell Indian people that the part two will come and Operation Sindoor is still continuing because they have probably political line. Why particularly Bihar election coming November? They have a population of 13 crore. It's about 13 million people. And we're talking about, and they out of them, about 70 million are the voters. That's bigger than our Punjab province. So you can imagine the stake that they have. Probably they're trying to set the mood, but so unlikely seeing Indian armed forces on almost three services uh, going into towing a political line. Politicians have been doing it, and obviously they're supposed to do it. It's probably obligatory on them. So this gives me a strange feeling that I had respected them as a very respectable armed force, three services, Indian side. Because they played very sober throughout, always apart from their military objective. We are rivals, obviously, but I still respect them professionally. Though this is so unfortunate to see Indian forces going in with this kind of agenda. Unusual. You see, Sir Creek is a closed chapter since almost 1989 during the tenure of Benazir Bhutto Sahiba. That was over. And if something was left, it was culminated and closed during President Musharraf's time. So it's no more a controversy or a subject. But for the viewers, maybe young viewers, we can share with them that this is a kind of place where the rivers go and merge with the sea. And that's called the Sir Creek area. This is about 95-kilometer wide area, mostly marshy, and obviously it's a soft ground, mostly not fit for military operations. But India is trying to create a design that probably Pakistan is building up military might or putting the hardwares and some weapons over there to deter us. And also, I see it from another angle. You see, in the air, what happened on 6th and 7th night, they could not really manage to put out a good show as an Indian Air Force, which has over 1,000 fighter jets. And ultimately, they came back with the claim that they shot down Pakistani jets through S-400s. On the lighter note, I keep asking Indian, my friends, that if you were to shoot all our aircraft through S-400 only, then why would you keep 1,000 aircraft? What were they doing, obviously, during that? So probably the Indian minister has tried to shift the balance from the air, where they could not even probably dare to come close. That's the state that they had. And probably they're trying to shift the focus of Pakistan Armed Forces, that it could be the sea this time and not. It's from that point of view. I do not find much substance in that. Probably the Navy has not been tested by the Indians for long. Alhamdulillah, I know a lot of capability that Pakistan Navy has, and they will obviously yet again surprise them. And I have been telling about the Pakistan Air Force. I uploaded a video on my YouTube channel on the 1st May, just 5 days before the conflict, and which I had warned that I have been to bases, I have seen their exercises myself. Do not engage Pakistan Air Force at this stage. This is the most combat ready air force in the region. And they will surprise you. These are my words. And Alhamdulillah, God was very kind to obviously my suggestion or my was not given any heed, but my analysis were upheld by the Almighty. But this is just a diversion. Probably, I do not find any substance that Indian would come and contest us at the Sir Creek area. This is another strange phenomena. You see, this is a country which probably earned $28 billion last year from the IT sector. This is a country which has a share of 56% IT outsourcing projects in the world. a global share of 56%. And this is a country which has lagged terribly on the EW, electronic and digital and IT sector while they were matching with us. Now, Cyber Command Pakistani Air Force obviously jammed them. You've seen that. You must have read that. And we're not talking about that. But look at it. They come back with 12 aircraft. Just on 9th August, their air chief was saying that we shot down 5 to 6 aircraft. I mean, 90 days down, you could not even figure out that were they 6 or 5. Were they large aircraft? Were they transport aircraft? Was it a EW aircraft? Were they fighter aircraft? I mean, it takes you 90 days. We came back in few hours. You recall, Air Vice Marshal Aurangzeb came back with the data in which not only we gave a type of aircraft, we gave their coordinates, we gave their exact location where they fell down. We also obviously make people listen to the audio of the pilots. What else would you like to have to prove? Did they, obviously the Indian side, show any of the evidence that this is what they did the wreckage? The social media showed many wreckages which further proved our claim. Where is the Indian claim? They do not come back with the electronic signal. They do not come out with the location. They do not come out with the radio calls. They do not come out with the wreckage videos. What are they trying to do? I think telling people and you double the aircraft within a month or so, that is further can be laughable. And the last point to add here, obviously as an obligation, I do look into the international media. What are they doing and what are they saying about it? I was surprised that they no more even put, what to talk of headline, they do not even mention anywhere these claims in their newspapers, in the digital platforms. They do not even talk about it because the Indians armed forces in the recent conflict have run out of a lot of credibility. And probably people started to question their integrity. Because I kept reading and I teach in universities and I tell my students that and I read somewhere that if you have integrity, nothing else matters. But if you do not have integrity, nothing else matters. So you got to have integrity, obviously, because rest will be taken care by the people, because people will trust you. This is what happened in case of Pakistan Air Force. They left it and they did not come back to repeatedly after a month or 2 months or 6 months that we came back and trying to reassure that we shot down. They hit back and they went back to their operational bases and they went on to do their professional business. I visited Air Headquarters just about 10 days back. I visited those operations room and I talked to those people, the air cyber warriors, the pilots, the planners, the top leadership. And when I was talking to the cyber command head, I said, you did this and that war, and how did you do that and that? And he said, sir, you're talking about the past, and for the last 4 months, we're talking about the future. We moved on. What I'm trying to prove is they're not looking into the analysis 5 months down. They are talking that we are preparing for something new which may come up. So this is what they should do. And I'm very professionally, humbly, I would like to request Indian Armed Forces through your channel, although my voice is very naive, but they should move on, accept a mistake, they did something. This is a professional Air Force, no doubt about it. I never said anything bad about the Indian Air Force. But then you have to show the grace. Being mighty is another thing, and being graceful is another thing. You got to merge both, I suggested to them. I think this is the best political, diplomatic, and international environment that I have seen probably since I am studying in international strategy or international politics. Favorable. Credit can be discussed who gets the credit, but God has been very kind to us, where Beijing is friendly to us, Washington is friendly to us, Riyadh is very friendly to us. So this is the time that we need to take the best out of it. Why? We need obviously to strengthen not only our belief militarily, but also diplomatic front is space open. This is the first time ever that we are getting preference over India. This was never so. We were always the suspect. We were always asked to do more. We were also always blamed that we are playing double games. This is the first time ever that you see, and I'm sure you have such a long, illustrious career as a journalist, you would agree with me that these are the best cards that we are holding these days, fortunately. And I think we need to connect and we need to convey to these big powers that friendship with one country does not mean enmity or unfriendly atmosphere with the other country. We need to rise and we need to be mature. And that assurance will obviously come when you do not toe the line of a particular country, because you know that China and US especially have conflicting interests in the region. So it's a very thin line. If we tilt away on one side, obviously we could have a risk of losing the friendship of the other side. I think this is the best, but all nations, whatever I have studied or I've been teaching in National Defense University, other universities, all nations behave according to their own national interest. This is the best time. We should capitalize, no doubt about it, but make people comfortable. The countries who are supporting us, especially superpowers that I'm talking about, the economic powers that I'm talking about, but take the best, what is good for our country, for armed forces, and for the defense of our country. How do we do that? I think policymakers would be in a much better position to do that. You see, in two fronts that you talked about, we were way ahead than Indians. The two fronts, cyber and the drones. These are the areas where Pakistan Air Force has done tremendous advancement, and they had transformed these departments or these areas in last about 4 years. I have been visiting the air bases and I've been seeing these operational exercise. These things, the drones and obviously the cyber command or EW electronic warfare, they were put into action during the peacetime. And I've been seeing these 70 to 80 aircraft one side and 20, 30 fighting from the other side in the real war-like scenario exercises. So they had anticipated that whenever the war comes, we are going to employ that. If you read Indian journalists, and especially the military analysts, they are accusing the government, where this government, the Indian government, had been sleeping for years when Pakistan Air Force was preparing with the drones and especially the EW Cyber Command. This is what they did wonders. And I do not think the Indians, even if they decide to fund and enable these two sectors, which they are already having a lead over us, probably will not be able to catch up over the years. They did use the Israeli drones, no doubt. They are one of the best drones in the world. But we have gone past much ahead of them because we, in three dimensions. Not only that, we are trying to purely acquire the weapons. Then we are having a second is transfer of technology. And through transfer of technology, the third part now, I'm pleased to share with you that we have gone much ahead in indigenous production of these weapons and drones. And Alhamdulillah, time will come, Pakistan Air Force particularly will give a lot of more surprises. Because the last 4 years, let me remind you that we have gone into 19 new inductions, the PF, last 4 years. And J-10C was one induction. Cyber Command was another. HQ-9B surface-to-air missile was other. So there are many. There were 16, 17 more that I could talk about. So we are now, probably dozens of new inductions are in the pipeline. Obviously, because of the security reasons and confidentiality, I may not be able to share with you now. But soon, inshallah, you will keep hearing that what all has been added to the Pakistan Air Force, which will add punch to the war fighting capability of Pakistan Air Force, inshallah. I foresee that. I expect that. I did not expect that, but now I foresee that. Let me correct myself. I did not expect, I thought they'll behave in a more graceful way. It's like a sumo wrestler. You see, India is huge. We are ready to accept that. India is a big economy, no doubt about it. It's a big military in the region. Absolutely, we accept that. But sumo wrestler has a big power, big muscles, more weight, more energy. Does that mean the sumo wrestler will be best in swimming or table tennis? So it will not be as at the best. So they may be big in size, but you, as I said in the earlier question I answered, that you may be big, you may be mighty, but grace has to make you great, obviously. You can only be great in case you behave. You keep doing, the world does not believe you anymore. And fortunate to us, because we came on the media, presented the data to international media, opened our information to them, and then went back to our professional duties. And the Indian Air Force chief repeatedly has come back. You see the army chief visiting units and saying that next time we will not hold bar anything. Now, who told you to hold bar? I'm surprised. Let me also clear one thing. When you are in offense or you have to launch an offense against an enemy, you have a military objective drawn. That should be clear. You draw the military objective. You do not cease the fire. You do not cease the war unless you achieve the military objectives. You have to be answerable to the political leadership, to the military leadership, that this is what we have done. Did they achieve military objective? The answer is no. The offensive side has a big advantage. They have advantage of the initiative. They have advantage of the choice of the weapons. They have a choice of which target to attack. They have a choice when to attack. And on top of, they have the choice of what intensity. Should they send 100 aircraft? Should they send 200 aircraft? They have a choice. In spite of having all that initiative And on the other side, Pakistan Air Force had only one thing. It was just ready to defend. We did not know their time. We did not know intensity, the number of aircraft, the place that they will hit, and the intensity they will come back with. So with all that, what we did was, it had to be appreciated and amazing on the Pakistan side. And it has to be obviously question mark. There has to be question mark what the Indians did. Who told them to stop the war unless they had achieved the military objective? Can you stop the war yourself and say, okay, sorry, we are still continuing with the part two? You better should have done this in part one and called it off and said that we've done the job. That's it. To create sympathy and electoral voting, keeping in mind probably they can come back with something misadventure, but not of the level of 6 and 7 May. Why? Because there are two things for attacking a country. One, you have to have the intent, and the other is the capability. You can have intent anytime, even if you're not capable. Even Nepal can get up and attack India. That's intent. But do they have capability? That's a question mark. What capability have they developed in the last 4 or 5 months? Not much. It was a huge gap in May that we surprised them, alhamdulillah. And then they were supposed to build up the capacity, enable their armed forces to meet their war objectives. What did they do? And by the way, Pakistan, like any air force in the world, is very tech savvy. You have to have technology coming in, being understood by people. They master the technology, they integrate, and then they create effect. This is what Pakistan Air Force had been doing for the last 4 years. We received J-10C aircraft in 2022 March. For last 3 years, I have met the top leadership of the Air Force. The Air Chief had directed this squadron, number 15 squadron, that you will do nothing but anti-Rafale training. You will do combat only. 4 versus 6 aircraft, 8 versus 10 aircraft. That you should be engaged. 4 versus 20 aircraft. This was done during the peacetime. Now, do you do that? How can they do that in 5 months? You got to induct, you had to rehearse, near war-like scenario that you have to take your pilots and all air crew into it. It could be EW. And on top of that, the last word on this is you have to integrate all weapons. Like what we call now is multi-domain operations. We were getting input from the space. We were getting input from EW, electronic warfare aircraft, the jammers, the fighter aircraft, ground-based radars, and surface-to-air missiles. This is called integration, one kill picture, and this is called multi-domain operation. Have the Indian done it in last 4 months? My answer is no. This is a very strange phenomena that I am observing this. Because last 78 years, if you look at the history of the Indian armed forces, they've been very professional. I respect them for being professional. They never got into politics. They never told any lines of political agenda. But unfortunately, I'm changing my mind now. Seeing the 3 services, obviously, off and on coming, the political leadership is supposed to come. They do it. They have to win the elections. They have to take the people with them. They have to create that kind of hysteria amongst the people that people start to believe what the political leadership say. The Indian military had never done it in last 78 years. This is the first time ever. What is not there on the ground, and they know that it's not there on the ground and not in the air, and they're talking about that. Talking just on 9th of August, Indian Air Force Chief says we shot down 5 or 6 aircraft. Now in 1 month, he's doubled the aircraft. Are you sleeping? Where are you? You are such a big Air Force Chief. It's a huge Air Force in the region. Can your input, can your data be that faulty? Can it be so hazy that you keep getting input one by one? Do you count every month or every week? You got to sit down, count, give the data like our Air Vice Marshal Aurangzeb gave in few hours after the conflict. He gave everything. He gave the data, he gave the information, he gave the number of aircraft, he gave the location, he gave the coordinates. He made you listen to the voice of the pilots. And on top of that, social media showed the wreckage of the aircraft. This is how you close the chapter and move on. This is what they should have done. Unfortunately, that has not happened.